can have like
It's
Irish
okay.
content
England,
creators,
Irish,
right?
Scottish, it's all the same.
Potatoes?
That's the joke.
Oh. I was like, how could you?
That's the joke.
Sorry.
Tactical potato. Literally the most Irish person on planet.
Oh wait, yeah. Let me
Yeah,
hear
just
his
think of-
voice in my head.
Hey, all you fuckers.
Doesn't
he say that?
I mean, sure, but
I'm so sorry.
for a round.
Doesn't Tactical Potato say
He
that?
swears all the time. Yes.
He does do that,
He's
right?
got a foul mouth. That
Oh my
potato.
So, DevStream 185 has just ended, which means we have a lot, and I mean a lot, to talk about. Like Rebecca and Megan's attempt at an Irish accent, I have no idea what that was all about. So, the TechRot Encore update is going to be massive, with new Warframe, Proto Frames, Augments, missions, weapons, quality of life, huge amount of quality of life improvements, and much, much more. So let's just not mess about and jump right into it. So this whole dev stream is the second half of what they already showed in the last dev stream that's also coming with this same update. And it's coming on the 19th of March, so not that far away. Now, this is Temple, our 68th Warframe, also known as Flare, our new Proto Frame, a David Bowie themed glam rock star, which has been 7 years in the making, I believe. So they have kind of nailed this design. It is a glam rockstar frame with an exalted flame-throwing guitar called Lizzie. That's right, their guitar is alive and the name is Lizzie. Lizzie is a being born from Flare's blood and has their own personality, so we don't know exactly which of them is in control. They both have different personalities, and like I said, it's an exalted flamethrower. Now, from a lore perspective, Flare is the last surviving member of a rock band called Temple and the Rippers, but their bandmates have all been killed, which is why Temple or Flare has joined the fight. Now, Temple is a heat-based warframe. Their passive is a metronome system, which you can see underneath your crosshair swinging from side to side, but there is a sweet spot in its center. If you cast an ability when the dial is in that center, in that sweet spot, it will amplify your abilities. Each one will have a different kind of mechanic, but it will also give you 50% ability efficiency as well. Now, their first ability is called Pyrotechnics. This is where Temple will unleash pillars of fire. When you cast it on the beat to the metronome, it will double the amount of pillars, and I think this maybe scales with power strength, how many pillars you're going to get. If this looks familiar, then it kind of should to any old school players, because it looks very similar to Ember's old World on Fire, the visuals of it at least. Now, Temple's second ability is called Overdrive. This will surround Temple with subwoofers or speakers that will debuff enemies, making them vulnerable to crits, and casting it on the beat will also, I believe, stun enemies and increase the crits that they take. And it will also add duration to your third ability as well. Now, your third ability is called Ripper's Wail. This will buff teammates with bonus fire damage and also heal Temple, while also, I think Pablo said, gives you some shield as well. And casting it on the beat will increase the effectiveness of that buff. It will also make you invulnerable to incoming damage as well, so it's kind of an oh shit button. Now, their fourth and final ultimate ability is basically Lizzie the Exalted Solo, which turns Lizzie into an exalted flamethrower that you can shoot elemental projectiles out of, while also doing the heat-based damage from the flamethrower, which you can see on the bottom right for those elements. Casting those elements to the beat, or well, outside the beat, will just be normal projectiles, but if you cast it to the beat, the projectiles will be larger. So you can also prime targets, and you can hold this down continuously, or you can tap fire the flamethrower depending on whether groups of enemies are near you or not. But on each beat, it will add whichever element you cast of those four abilities, since they change once you're in that exalted flamethrower mode. Now, Temple's first ability is their Subsume, so if you want to put those pillars of fire on any other warframe, you can do that. However, it's not going to gain the bonus from the metronome. It will just be the standard amount of pillars from whatever your power strength will be. Now, Temple is also going to come with a signet, I think they said, and an alternate helmet, which they showed on stream, as well as a signature pistol called the Riot 848, which apparently has some Entrati tech built in. All of the bullets, after you fire them, will teleport back to your gun, and I think deal damage on their way back as well. So it is a heat-based warframe that can debuff, can heal themselves, has an invulnerability window, has an exalted flamethrower, can set loads of enemies on fire, and can prime enemies as well. They sound very, very good, but we're going to have to get our hands on Temple to see firsthand. Now, the Halvania Mall is expanding to add a pub, which will house the new Proto Frames for you to interact with and buy things off as well, because some of them are vendors, which leads us up to those new Proto Frames. Proto Frames that cannot be romanced, but you can learn more about them with the Kim system by interacting with them. So this is Velimir, a Frost-themed military agent searching for Neki Rusalka, but Velimir also has an ex-wife or a wife that things maybe didn't end so well with, and they're always fighting. This is that ex-wife, Minerva, aka Saryn, Proto Saryn, which has also joined the fight for the same reason, and that is to find their adoptive child, Neki Rusalka. So they're searching for Rusalka since she's gone missing. Then there is Kaya, our Nova-themed engineer student who is focused on void science. That's our other Proto Frame. So we've got Proto Nova, Proto Saryn, and Proto Frost on top of Temple, who is also a Proto Frame. They're the 4 new ones. Now, these new Proto Frames are tied through the Hex Syndicate. That's how you will get them. Rank 4 for the Hex Syndicate apparently unlocks Flare and the new defense that's coming with the 99 mission with this update. And rank 5 will unlock Velimir and Minerva and Kaya, along with the new mission type, Temporal Archimedea. Now, like I said, they have their own Kim system chat that will give you a little bit more of their story arc surrounding each of these Proto Frames, who they are and what about them, but you can't romance them. And even Velimir and Minerva have their own group chat, which seems to have them arguing and fighting a lot. But the bigger question would be, what exactly is Temporal Archimedea? Now, Temporal Archimedea is 99's version of Deep Archimedea, with the same kind of modifiers, weapons, frame parameters, except it's set inside 99's tileset or universe with a little bit of a twist. There are stickers or peely picks that you can add to those missions in the Archimedea as added boosts to yourself and your squad, like resist knockdowns, damage boosts, and so on. Now, these stickers are earned by completing Temporal Archimedea missions, and then you can be purchased off Kaya or Proto Nova outside of the pub in the new area of the Halvania Mall with the Pix chips, which is a new resource that you get when you complete the Temporal Archimedea. So you get Pix chips, then you go to Nova and you buy the things off Nova there. Now, Kaya also has 3 new arcanes. Arcane Escape, which works on Mercy Kill. You gain a stack of Escapist, which is a buff, up to 10 times. Every 5 stacks will grant a revive and 12 seconds of invulnerability after fatal damage. Arcane Hotshot, you will gain 6% weapon crit chance when you use abilities that inflict heat stacks, stacking up to 50%, which is a 300% crit chance buff. Heat-based frames are going to absolutely love the heck out of this, or if you subsume a heat-based ability onto any of your favorite frames, okay? This arcane is probably looking like the best out of them all. However, Universal Fallout, the 3rd arcane, I'm kind of liking the look of, because I enjoy Corvex a lot. Each radiation status effect on enemies has a chance to drop a universal orb on enemy death. So Wisp, Corvax, Oberon, or maybe a few others if you subsumed maybe Corvax's pillars onto other Warframes. So they're the 3 new arcanes. Now the big question is, can Temporal Archimedea and Deep Archimedea both be done each week? And the answer is yes, they can. Both modes can be completed weekly because both modes use search pulses as keys, but the rewards operate independently. However, we have got 5 search pulses per week. Deep Archimedea will cost 2. Temporal Archimedea will also cost 2, which leaves you with 1 search pulse in order to do a single Netracell mission. So you're going to have choices to make whatever you want to do, depending on the rewards you're looking for. From what I believe, Temporal Archimedea is where you will farm the Universal Omniforma, Arcanes, stickers, and of course those Pix chips. And Deep Archimedea is where maybe you will farm the Archon shards, the larger group of arcanes, and some other goodies as well. Now, there is also a new defense mission called Solstice Square, which is coming with the Encore update, along with its own vendor. In this defense mission, you will have to defend Temple as they rock out after the death of their boy band, of their bandmates, sorry, and Victor is trying to finish the job off and take Temple out as well. This defense has the new wave reduction implemented into it, so it's 3 waves, not 5. It has massive speakers also around the arena that apparently you might be able to activate for bonus damage effects to enemies. Now, this mission will give a new resource called Rot Heartstrings, which you can use to buy Temple's parts and, of course, Temple's weapon off Flare back in Hallvania in the mall at the back of the pub, but the mission also has its own Demolist type of enemy variant called a Screamo that will try to run up to Temple and explode in order to kill Temple that you're going to have to defend Temple against. Now, the defense arena will also change like on the Lua defense missions, and in Phase 2, Temple will more or less bring the house down into a new arena underneath it, where it won't just be Skaldra enemies, which is all that spawns up on top, it will also have Tekrot enemies in there as well. So you'll have Skaldra and Tekrot at the same time, where you need to keep Temple alive. So basically, this defense mission is where you're going to farm Flare, or Temple's parts, as well as the signature parts for their weapon. Which leads us up to the Pseudo Exalted rework. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm just going to let Pablo talk about this in detail since it deserves a better explanation than I could give it, and not just me quickly mentioning bullet points on the graphic card. But there will be a dev workshop, or there is one up right now, which I'm going to leave in the description of this video, and I'm going to do a video on it tomorrow in more detail, as well as the Ash rework as well. So I'm just going to let Pablo take it from here just for this little segment.
So we kind of already gave you like an initial rundown last time. What's happening?
She's got notes. You
I
got notes.
I'm
got
sure
notes,
you're
okay.
sticking to the script here.
So there's a lot of details. You know, I've actually gotten a lot of questions, and I've seen a lot of twisted Twitter and forums and stuff. There's a bajillion details on this. So we actually have a dev blog which goes over all the tiny little specifics, because there's a lot to go over. So I'm just gonna go over like the big points. Coda, Atlas, Gyre, and Ash, as it says there, all are getting basically moddable weapons, which before used to be Pseudo Exalteds. Basically, they would grab the mods from your melee weapon, which, you know, unfortunately a lot of people didn't know about, and you know, a lot of people that didn't know about, maybe they didn't use it as much, so on and so forth. So now you can just mod them directly, and it's awesome. Excalibur / Dash will take the mods directly from Exalted Blade. And Pseudo Exalteds now have their own melee combo, so it works very similar to the Atlas one, except it has the numbers similar to a regular melee weapon. So things like Blood Rush and stuff like that all work essentially the same. But specifically for Blood Rush, we had a little, so the way Blood Rush works, generally for you, well, the way combo works, sorry. For normal attacks, you get 4x multiplier when it says 12x, and only the heavy attack gets the 12x, which is pretty confusing. I didn't like keeping that on this one because, you know, you would see 12x, but you only get 4x. That's just confusing. So it actually applies the full for 12x, but we had to change the base damage down. So basically, you get an effective 6x. Does that make sense? That was confusing, but
It went from 4 to 12, but down to up.
so it used to be 4. It used to be 4. We made
Then there's
it
a
12,
twist.
Yeah.
but this is way too much, as 12 would have been way too much damage. So we cut the base damage, so it's effectively a 6x. So you're still 50% larger damage than it is on live right now. But you know, when you see the damage on the Pseudo Exalted, you might think it's low because you don't know that part.
But now you know.
Yeah, sorry. I know it's confusing. This stuff has been
You
very,
went off
very
script,
complex.
Pablo. I didn't have it on my slide.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you
No,
that.
it's fine.
What else? Yeah, arcane slots and stances now provide capacity. The stances provide capacity they didn't before, so they were usually harder to mod. So now you can mod those. Exilus and adapters for there's a few Exalted weapons that didn't have Exilus, so now those have it. And then all Exalteds and Pseudo Exalteds have access to both Exilus and the arcane slot. A bunch of different mods that never worked for Exalteds now work for Exalted, so there's a lot to be done there. Exalted Blade and Serene Storm now give combo from the ranged attacks, not just from the melee ones, which used to be quite a bit of a pain to use directly. Yeah, so it's a lot of things. I know, you know, some people are concerned about, you know, where exactly will the damage land and stuff. I think you'll see once you use it, it is billion times easier to build your combo. You don't have to like pre-build it with your melee weapon and then snapshot it, which, you know, like the 99% of people didn't used to do. So I understand if you're in the 0.1% that did used to do that and has like an amazing ribbon, you might be feeling a little bit of the sting. And I'm sorry for that, but the other 99% of players, this is just huge for them in terms of how much more accessible this is. and just how much more straightforward it is to use it.
Brew, if you don't mind.
Now, for Ash's rework, Ash is receiving some changes with more details to come in that dev workshop as well. But for his shuriken, they've increased the number of shurikens he throws from 2 up to 5. The base damage of those has been increased by 50%, and they've also now been changed to throw in an arc, and each hit will gain or add to his melee combo. For his smoke screen, they've increased its duration. For his teleport, they've actually added that or baked that into the Fatal Teleport augment, so that's now part of the ability, and the augment has been changed to give parkour velocity after a teleport, and a kill will extend the smoke screen's duration. Now for his Blade Storm, they've made it moddable because of the Pseudo Exalted rework, and they've increased its range, but they've also changed some of its functionality. Like I said, I'll go over that in more detail in a video tomorrow from that dev workshop post. Now, they also showed off 4 new augments. There is one for Wisp and her Sol Gate, which will add spectral wisps each side of her, and it will leave a radiated fire zone on the ground. So one of those new arcanes could definitely benefit on Wisp. Then for Corvex, Crucible Blast also turns pillars into a chain reaction nuke. Really liking the sound of that. And for Kome, Omakuji's augment will reduce the cooldowns based on your passive effects. Then you have Gyre, whose Arc Sphere augment will add guaranteed electric status to projectiles. And since we have got a Gyre Deluxe skin on the way, which looks like this, looks absolutely incredible, possibly the best looking Deluxe skin in my eyes that I've seen in a while. Along with that Deluxe skin for her Alternox signature weapon as well. Now, for the Technosyte Coda system, they've also made a few more announcements, as well as the 13 weapons and how the system is going to work. In the last dev stream, they've mentioned that there is a new infected pimple, which is going to be this green pimple that grows on your Warframe, whereas previously some of the liches will steal things off you. This time around, instead of robbing you, the Technosyte Coda will infect you with a growing pimple that remains on your Warframe until you vanquish or kill, convert, that lich. It's going to be a green Sith, and it's going to absolutely mess your fashion frame up. So I would imagine that everyone is going to kill them as quick as possible, because fashion frame is literally the most important thing for most people. Now, we know that the Infested Lich system is going to bring a lot of new cosmetics. Apparently, there is 8 new Infested theme ephemeras, which are on screen right now, from Infested Tails, Heart Huggers, Pizza Cutters, and there's also going to be random tints or colours for each lich that you get, adding variety to their appearance. So we do know that each lich that you're going to get will have at least one guaranteed cosmetic. We also know that there's going to be 13 lich weapons. We know that Eleanor, back in the Helvania Mall, will have that valence swap adapter for platinum, which will allow you to change the elements on each of those lich weapons. If you don't like the element you have, you can switch it to something else. We know there's going to be Scaldra weapons that you're going to be able to buy the blueprints of Minerva, aka Proto Saryn, as well. But they also showed us Ollies Crashcourse, which is a single-player Rainbow Road style time trial for your bike with a leaderboard. And if you win, I think the leaderboard that week, you have a chance to get a bike skin, which is basically the Ollie bike skin. Now, this is a new arcade game inspired by Make-A-Wish recipient James Conlon, where players can earn Ollie's cosmetics, including a floof and that Tommy Cycle skin, simply by taking part in the Rainbow Road styled race and seeing how well they do on the leaderboard. Now, there is also a ton, and I mean a ton, of quality of life changes coming with this update. Not just the ones that they showed off on the last dev stream, but there's also the star chart for new player experience has been kind of shortened or streamlined to allow players to get through the star chart just that little bit quicker. Well, not get through, they haven't removed nodes, it's just to allow you to get to the more pivotal nodes quicker. They're also giving a Necromech as a loaner to players who don't have one for the new War Quest, because this has been a barrier for many players, making them, put the game down, because building a Necromech can be a little bit time consuming or expensive for new players. So now they're going to get a Necromech, which is an absolute huge change for new players. On top of this, they are also buffing Face Off to give periodic squad-wide boosts to help populate that game mode more. There will be Ancient Protector changes. They've removed high-level crafting materials for players crafting an Archwing. The Archwing launcher segment is delivered upon completion of the Archwing quest as well. There are plenty of new 10th gen items coming, but they've also mentioned the 12-year anniversary, which is coming on the 7th of March. Basically, new Dex items. Now, the old Dex items will all show up as alerts throughout, I guess, the few weeks. But the new item is a Dex ephemera, which you will get simply by logging in, and it will show up in your inbox. And this is pretty much what it looks like on the screen right now. But that's pretty much, I guess, the main topics for the dev stream. I will have a new video tomorrow going over, I guess, the dev workshop post in relation to Ash and the Pseudo Exalted rework to go into more detail as to how it works. But let me know in the comment section below what you thought of the dev stream, of everything that was shown, considering this is only part 2 of the stuff that's coming with the update on the 19th of March, as well as the dev stream in January, which has had all of the other stuff. So it's going to be a very, very big update. But hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, or don't if you didn't. Have a great weekend either way, and as always, thanks for watching.